welcome to a new edition of the Probe Dental Podcast. I'm James Cook, and today we are joined by Joel Mannix. He is the head of dental at Christie & Co. Hi, Joel. Welcome back to the podcast. How have you been?
Yeah, good. It's been a busy. I think what we decided it was about 6 months since we last spoke. So yeah, things have certainly moved on since then.
Yes, obviously, last time you joined us, it was for the Dental Market Review. This time, it's the 2025 Business Outlook. For those who are kind of new, could you first of all tell us a bit about yourself and your background and Christie & Co, but then kind of explain what the Business Outlook is and kind of what it highlights.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Joel Mannix. I am the head of dental at Christie & Co. Christie & Co, we've actually been established since 1935. However, we only started entering into the dental market about 10, 11 years ago now. I joined the team about 7 years ago, actually coming up to 8 years now, as an agent covering Scotland. Last year, I was promoted to head of dental. So now covering the whole of UK, managing a team of specialist agents. We've now got 11 agents up and down the country. And I can safely say, as we've now entered the Northern Irish market, that we cover the whole of the UK. We are the largest team of specialist agents across the country as well. Our Business Outlook report is our annual report that basically shares an overview of all the business sectors that we cover. And in 2024, for the year in 2024, and an outlook on the year ahead.
Excellent. And I mean, so this year, obviously, what would you say are some of the highlights of the report for those who haven't read it yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest highlight is that we are absolutely delighted that there has been to report that there has been a recovery in the UK market during 2024. I think the sort of repercussions of the 2022 mini budget, economic pressures, rising interest rates, etc., sort of caused the market to have a bit of a recalibration in 2023, shall we say? But last year, we actually saw that that sort of unwound a bit, and we've seen an increase in business confidence. I think specifically looking at dental, the biggest factor for us was that the independent sectors absolutely dominated the market last year. In fact, over 80% of the practices that we sold were to independent buyers. So that's first time and independent buyers across the country.
So, I mean, what kind of factors do you think are driving the trend towards independent buyers?
Yeah, good question. I think the shift is driven by a few factors. If I'm honest, I think whilst the first thing I would say is that the larger corporates paused their acquisition plans for, well, we've probably seen the best part of 18 months now, and we saw fewer deals complete to those corporate operators. What that has done is it's caused a shift to open up where we can see exciting opportunities for independent and first-time buyers that perhaps weren't there before because the corporates would have, say, snaffled these opportunities up. The larger corporates as well, we did go through a corporate divestment. Some of it was publicised, some of it wasn't, where we saw sort of the corporates selling off some of their lower value assets, which created some opportunities for independent buyers as well. And also market confidence. I think, as I said before, the stabilised borrowing costs, increased market confidence they've all have sort of encouraged the independent sector to sort of expand their portfolios. I'd say, that next generation of empire builders.
Excellent. And obviously, the report as well mentioned an 18% rise in practices coming to the markets. As you mentioned, it was obviously a lot more buoyant. It's kind of bounced back from following 2022. What do you think is driving the increase in supply, and how does that affect the market overall?
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, the market did experience a bit of a recalibration where our sort of valuation multiples were adjusted to much more sustainable levels than where they were that sort of peak 2020 to 2022, say. Our data has indicated that the correction is now stabilized and obviously is showing signs of renewed optimism, whilst the increase in supply has sort of contributed to a decrease in average pricing. I think what that just means is that we're selling sort of a lot more sort of quantity, I guess. In fact, last year we sold over 125 practices across the UK. It just means that there's more options and opportunities for buyers, which is sort of leading to a more independent market.
So the report also highlighted a differing appeal for NHS sort of heavy versus private practices. I mean, can you explain the financial restrictions that are impacting NHS focused practices and why this might deter buyers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say it deters buyers. I think traditionally our research or our data always shows that mixed practices are always more popular. We always have a range of buyers for, say, fully NHS and also fully private practices, but because generally the market wants mixed practices, there's just less of those buyers out there. But I think that, to your point, operational challenges, as I mentioned before, the high operational costs, and obviously reimbursement rates, not being able to have that control compared to the sort of private market has an impact on it. I think they do make NHS heavy practices not necessarily less attractive, but as I said before, we have less buyers because we're looking to. Most buyers are looking for some that have, say, a higher profitability with fewer financial constraints. But the good news is that we are seeing more and more people looking for that security blanket of the NHS. Post COVID, there was a real trend for private dentistry, high end treatment, that sort of Zoom boom that we've spoken about so much. Obviously, the rest of the country is feeling, those sort of economic pressures as well, which is going to mean that there's less money going around, which means that people want NHS treatment. So we are seeing a rise in popularity for these practices as well.
So do you think things might swing the other way around when we kind of, I say, reach perhaps the dental market review at the end of the summer or next year's business outlook?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there are a number of factors that are going to contribute to that. Obviously, the biggest factor is recruitment. I think that we will see that ease off. There are a lot of changes coming that are going to make recruiting, especially from overseas, easier, which the industry desperately needs. I think that, as I said, it depends on the sort of wider economic pressures that the country's facing. If there's more money going about, there'll always be a shift towards private. But as individuals and families, the purse strings become tighter, then there's more demand for NHS.
Excellent. Well, it'd be interesting to kind of follow this, as each report
Well,
comes out. Excellent. And I mean, so I wanted to kind of as well sort of finish up with, what advice you might offer to, say, a first-time buyer looking to enter the dental market this year. And then kind of following that for existing practice owners who are perhaps considering selling up, what are the most important factors for them to consider given the current market?
yeah. So with first time buyers, taking the step to own a practice, it can provide a real sort of security of income and, I suppose, autonomy as well to make decisions that align with your own professional values. My advice would be to research the market thoroughly, understand the dynamics and the financial health of potential practices, profitability, etc. But I would say start early, engage with experts like Christie and Co. I would, speak to specialist brokers, speak to specialist accountants and advisors. Again, I can't sort of recommend enough how important it is to speak to dental specialists. Dentistry is such a nuanced sector, and most people use them. So if you're not, you want to ensure that you're not missing out on anything. And then for existing practice owners, I think, again, we say it's never too early to start thinking about selling your practice. A few things I would say: ensure that your financial records are as up to date as possible. The one thing that we've found is that banks, buyers, they all want to know what is the practice doing today. So it's important that you have your financials up to date. Much like I mentioned before, engage with a specialist team. So have a specialist dental team around you. Ensure that your broker knows your business inside and out. Test the market. I think that all too often buyers say, "Oh, well, look, I'll sell it to this one particular individual or one particular buyer, whatever it might be." Well, I suppose you will only get the best possible deal out of that one particular individual or buyer, I should say. Whereas if you're testing the whole of the market, well, that's when you find out what your practice is really worth. And also that's how you get the best possible post-sale conditions as well. So understand your market, stay informed about market conditions, read Christie & Co.'s Business Outlook 2024 and Christie & Co.'s Dental Market Review 2024 as well. Stay on top of the market conditions and yeah, like I said, engage early.
Excellent. Well, we'll make sure to link in the episode description the Business Outlook review, as well as the Dental Market Review from last summer as well. So obviously, watching listing, we do recommend sort of checking those out, especially if you're looking to buy or sell anytime in the near future. But is there anything else before we wrap things up, Joel, that you kind of like to say or kind of, I guess, highlight from the Business Outlook report?
Yeah, I think that I guess that if we look at what sort of predictions there are for into next year, I think that whilst we'll still continue to see that that independent demand that will remain. We'll absolutely see that, but I do think we'll start to see some of the corporate operators come back into the market, sort of certainly in the next couple of months at the very least. Which even if you're not looking to sell to a corporate or your business might be too small for a corporate to consider, what they is going to do is provide more competition, which is obviously healthier for the market. I think that until we see those changes I mentioned before about recruitment, that's still going to be a factor. But I do think that will be alleviated through the streamlining of the PVLE and the ORE process as well. And I think that we're having more and more conversations with some of the private equity backed companies as well, which means that as I said, that's just going to cause more demand. So if you are thinking about selling your practice either now or in 10 years, get in touch with us. We'll happily provide free advice, and we can sort of start you on your way to sort of guiding you on selling your business and securing your exit.
Excellent. Well, we would have included contact details and the website as well in the episode description. So again, please check that out. But thank you very much for joining us once again, Joel. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, James. Good to chat.